To more questions. Thank you so much, Emmanuel To, for that. So now let's bring in Advocate Willis Otieno to shed more light on Chapter 6 of the Constitution. Good evening, Willis, and thank you so much for making time. Now, straight to it, did the President violate Chapter 6, Article 76 of the Constitution?
Very precisely. The President is in contempt of the Constitution. By his own admission, he has received a gift and he used it to his own, he put it to his own use without following the dictates of our laws. Regulation 10 of the Public Officers Ethics Act regulations made thereunder specifically provide that if a state officer receives a gift of worth more than 20,000 Kenya shillings, he has a responsibility to disclose that gift and to hand it over to the Commission. In this particular instance, the President has used a gift that is worth, by our estimation, more than 190 million Kenya shillings in his own trip. He is not disclosed to the Ethics and Corruption Commission who gave this gift, why was it given, how did those people know that the people of Kenya and their president don't have the capacity to take their president in the United States of America? Did he solicit for that gift from those people? Did he ask it or solicit from other persons as well before that entity decided to issue this particular gift? And that speaks to our foreign policy. Does it mean that going forward, as a country, we are not able to transport our president to various engagements that are taking across the global community? So in this particular instance, President Ruto is acting according to our Constitution, and as it is by his own admission, made in the presence of all Kenyans, has admitted to soliciting and receiving a gift and not following the law in using that gift as required. He is acting as if Ruto is Kenya and Kenya is Ruto. Ruto is not Kenya and Kenya is not Ruto. Kenya is a state governed by the rule of law, and he has a responsibility to abide by our laws at all times.
So now that you say that the rule of law has been violated, what next for Kenya?
The next step for Kenya is to impeach President Ruto from office, because he has actually admitted to violating the Constitution and the rule of law by which he became president. In working democracies, at this particular instance, the Senate and the National Assembly will be meeting to initiate impeachment proceedings against a president who has acted in violation of the Public Officers Ethics Act. And in this particular instance, if you remember, in Israel, President Olmert was forced actually to resign because of receiving a gift, not even of such quantity as President Ruto has received. It was a very minor gift that he had received and applied public resources to his own personal comfort. In this particular instance, we have the admission by the president, we have the law, we also the jet, and we do not know the concessions which he made to those who gave him this particular gift. What business do they do with the people of Kenya? And this belated attempt to try to wiggle it, that it was the United Arab Emirates government that made the donation, is an attempt to claw back on that admission. The truth of the matter is this: that was a private jet, and that private jet was applied, was received, its use was received by a public officer who failed to declare, and he failed to equally publish the register of gifts that he received and the return of what he was giving in return for that particular gift. He stands impeached in the eyes of the people of Kenya, and the next thing is for the institutions necessary, relevant, to initiate the process of his removal from office as a president. If they don't, then the people of Kenya, who are the ultimate custodians of the Constitution, now have a higher responsibility, if we really care about our Constitution, the rule of law, to impeach publicly President Ruto from office for acting in violation of the Constitution.
All right, try and make sense for us, Willis. I mean, we've had a number of contradicting answers. First, the president said, other people will answer the question of the cost of the trip. Then he said, KQ is more expensive. And then now we're hearing that his friends paid for it. Most Kenyans want to know, if it's so plain and simple, why is it so hard to explain? Try and make sense for us.
Because what's happening right now is this. They've been trying to weave this story, and they're trying to find a plausible explanation that will not go according to the law. But that is why when it started, it was that somebody else would explain the trip, because there was the question of if we are being asked to live within our means, but the president is living an extraneous lifestyle, then they said somebody will explain it. The next point was that the benefit that you are getting from the United States of America are far much more than the 200 million that we are complaining about. The third point was that even himself, he said that we should not focus on the 200 million Kenya shillings, that it was cheaper than KQ was offering. We did our math, and KQ is actually far much cheaper than the 200 million Kenya shillings that Ruto used in this particular trip. Now today in the morning, he decides to say that it was friends who donated it. Later on in the evening, they've discovered that in making that admission, he's actually acted in violation of our laws. Hence now the belated attempt by Hussein Mohammed to claim that these are donations from the government of the United States, the United Arab Emirates, so that we remove him from the purview of having received a gift from friends who are private entities. But that does not save him. Even if it was the UAE government that made that donation must be made within the rubric of our laws. They cannot make a donation of more than 20,000 Kenya shillings and President Ruto receives it. If it was more than 20,000 Kenya shillings, it shall have been declared and released to the EACC to hold in trust of the people of Kenya. In this particular instance, he took that donation and he used it. So all the facts are very clear. President Ruto is in contempt of the Constitution and the necessary proceedings for his removal of office needs to be initiated.
All right, thank you so much, Willis Otieno, for your time and, of course, for shedding light on Chapter 6, Article 76 of the Constitution. Thank you. Now, moving on, President